In your book, you have explained different types of bodies, like energy body, astral body, and causal body. If you can elaborate more on that, what they mean.
So this is an idea that comes from the ancients, right? In the library in university, I ran into a book on the Vedas, right? And this ancient Indian philosophy and science. And they spoke about 4 vehicles. Now, they had different names for them. They called them shells or kosas, right? But in IAC, I learned about, for example, the somas, which is just a European-based root for the same thing, vehicles or bodies, right? So like the soma being the physical body, the energosoma being the energy body, the psychosoma being like the astral body, and the mental soma being the mental body. But it's basically the same idea. If you look at theosophy literature, it's very similar. They have different bodies, right? And so on. So this idea is not new. The idea that we have various vehicles of manifestation. And they go into that a lot in the consciousness development program at IEC. But for me, it basically means that it's just a model for describing that we can have different experiences. So when we have a physical experience, I think nobody denies that we have a body, right? We think a lot about it. So it's a vehicle that allows us to manifest on Earth. But I think what people sometimes don't think about is the fact that this vehicle is related to the other vehicles, connected to the other vehicles. So your body can affect your energy can affect your body. Your emotions can affect your body can affect your emotions. And same with your thoughts, right? So, but people have a lot of experience with their body. They have less experience with the other vehicles directly. So the idea that you have an emotional body sounds maybe a little strange, or an energetic body. But the reason we talk about it is because there are experiences related to them. So why do we talk about an energy system or body? Because people have a feeling sometimes of sensations that they feel that are not really physical sensations. Hard to describe them as physical sensations. So, for example, if someone exteriorizes or sends or radiates or emanates or emits energy towards you, then you might feel something, maybe a heat or a vibration or pulsation or tingling. And then when you send energy, or maybe intentionally, or you're just thinking about someone, they might feel something, and then they might give you a call because they started thinking about you, even though if they're at a distance. So we have this energy body, which sounds like it's something meant as an extension of us that helps us to communicate in ways that are nonverbal, right? So, for example, someone giving a speech, we're listening to their words, but we're also looking at their body language, right? But unconsciously, we're picking up their energy too, right? So someone might come to you with the right clothing, the right attitude, the right words, the right body language, but there's something else that you're picking up on that tells you their intention, right? This person, I don't trust them. They're up to no good. I don't know why, but there's something you're picking up. It could be that you're reading the thoughts, feelings, and energy encoded in their energy, in their information field. So you could think of energy as a sort of informational field, data, right? That's just emanating from you. And that is very subtle. But there's also an aspect of energy that's more like a substance, because if you accumulate your chi, right, between your palms, you can feel a sort of substance. So sometimes it feels like it's a substance. But it has an aspect also of connection or rapport. So when you have a really good friend that you get together, you feel each other's sentences, you feel this bond with them, this connection. It's so strong that they could go to another country and like they trip and fall and hurt themselves. You feel something bad and you call them. You say, hey, are you okay? And yeah, I tripped, I hurt myself a little bit. So you're so connected. So in that case, energy is a result of the affinity you have for each other. So I talk a little bit about that in one of the last chapters of the book, about like the nature of energy, how it can be seen in different ways. As information, as a sense of affinity or rapport, or as a substance, right, that you can almost measure, right? One of my colleagues, Wagner Allegretti, he's using functional magnetic resonance imaging, basically like a brain scan, to detect energy. But it's only one aspect of energy, the aspect that can be detected. The kind of research that they were doing at the Pear Laboratory in Princeton, where you have machines that behave randomly, but then when you put your intention on them, they can become more ordered. So for example, you have a machine that spits out zeros and ones. You can make more ones or more zeros come out, so it becomes less random. So there are some ways to pick up aspects of energy, but not the whole picture. Energy is a lot more than just like energy, actually. It's not the best word to describe it, even though that's what we use. We need a better word, for that. We're work in progress. So beyond the energy body, we talk about the astral body or emotional body, because when we have an out-of-body experience, it's not that we're in the body or out of the body, but at least this is how we perceive things, right? We perceive like we're in the body right now, maybe somewhere behind the eyes or between the ears. Even though we're not really there, that's how we feel. Yeah, so when you have an out-of-body experience, the reason we talk about an astral body is because you can see your physical body is just sleeping, but yet you feel like you have another body. Now it's more subtle, and it can go through walls and see in 360 degrees and things like that. But it does feel like you have a body. Now, I've actually had this experience where I'm having an out-of-body experience, beginning to have one. I'm kind of sitting up on the bed, and I've reached back, and I've felt something that was back there, like pushing on me, what people call like the silver cord. And I realized it's not silver, it's not a cord, it's just this model to represent the idea that the physical body and the astral body are somehow connected. Well, most likely through energy, right? But at that moment, it felt like a cord, it felt like some kind of biological structure. But then when I go far away from the body, I actually don't feel like I have a cord at all. So a lot of my colleagues, really other OBE authors and such, they don't even think it exists. So in a way it doesn't, right? Because it's not literally a cord connecting these two bodies. But the bottom line is that there is something, some kind of field, some kind of system that allows information and energy to flow between these two bodies. Because the moment that it doesn't, right, what happens? Biological death, right? The body is no longer maintained. Its structure starts to dissipate. Now, you keep this astral body, but this physical body starts to go away. And the energy that was used to connect the two, most of it is dissipated also, or it should be, right? So that you can have a more real extra physical existence. Now, that's why when you go and meet someone outside the body, if they're in between lives, you can still have an interaction because they have that same astral body as you do. And I've actually felt someone else's like astral body on mine, and it felt solid. So I was in another context. This was actually at an IAC event. It was called the Advanced 2. It was in Key Largo in 2003. So I was starting to have an out-of-body experience, and then I felt that there were presences there, like these helpers, mentors, and I knew that the purpose of that class was not to have an out-of-body experience per se. It's more about feeling energy and donating energy, and basically it's like a healing field almost, right? And experiencing the presence of these beings, being a little closer to them, right? To have almost like inspiration from them. But I said, okay, it doesn't hurt to ask. I said, okay, if it's not a bother, sort of, like, can you help me complete this out-of-body experience? Because I was just sort of at a 45-degree angle. I could see the chandeliers and everything. I'm like trying to complete the OBE. And I felt a hand on mine. And it was, for them, it was very easy. Just pull me up. And I saw one person and then another. And, they had sort of an appearance. They felt fairly young, almost like they're preparing to be reborn soon. And they had like medical type clothing because they were preparing to become doctors. And we had this whole dialogue, but it was all mental. or telepathic, and it was all in an instant. And then I remember they took me to show me something, right? So it's possible to have this interaction with another astral body. If you're both using the astral body, you have almost like the same density. But if you try to reach a physical person, I won't say it's impossible, but it's very, very difficult. They might perceive you using their psychic abilities, like they might feel a presence, they might even see something through clairvoyance, but now you're trying to bridge a big divide, right, of dimensions. Now, this astral body can be very subtle in a way that it's not even resonating at anywhere near the earthly, more earthly plane, let's say. That you are really in a much more extra-physical or subtle kind of realm. To the point where this body doesn't even have much of a shape. I've had experiences with mentors that were presenting themselves just as like a ball of light, kind of. No particular shape. And it was interesting that they didn't care much about the physical form. Not just their own, but even like there weren't roads. What's the point of roads, right? Outside the body, if you can just fly somewhere or think of a place and be there, teleport yourself basically. They had some kind of temple-looking structure. It wasn't really a temple, but that's what it reminded me of, like a Roman temple or Greek structure, like the Acropolis or something like that. But it was felt like it was on the side of a mountain or something. But this mountain was just nowhere. So it was not architecturally civil engineering sound, because there's no gravity, so who cares, right? Mm-hmm. And there were no walls, no doors. I guess they don't have privacy concerns. They don't care. And but they were just there. It was just like a space to receive us. It was me and a friend of mine, both at the same time having this experience. And there were, again, no words exchanged, just sort of like a sense that was transmitted to us. We were just starting out in this field, and it was more like an encouragement to keep exploring, to keep giving back. And it was a nice experience, but it was very brief. But it gave me this idea that, things are getting more and more subtle, more and more removed from the physical plane, until you get to this level, which I personally have not experienced, but I just read about, that people throughout history, like it seems, like Augustine, right, who wrote the autobiography, a famous autobiography, Saint Augustine, right, for Catholics, for Christians, that if you read chapter 12 of the Confessions, you will see a description of heaven. But it's not a cloud with a bearded guy, on a chair. Nobody's sitting there playing the violin or getting bored on the clouds. There's nothing like that. Actually, the way he describes heaven is very close to other descriptions of this causal dimension or cosmic consciousness. Very much it's all about a realm that has no form. It's beyond space and time. And it's more about ideas and understanding and a connection with the whole universe, which, for some people, that sense of connection with the universe, with all the universe, is as close as a concept of God as you can come up with, right? So, none of my experiences have ever indicated to me the existence of like a creator, but they have also not denied it. So I guess it's just one of those things I just don't know. But I do get a sense that there's more and more evolved beings, just like us, but farther ahead, and that we are all interconnected, right, as one. So this feeling of oneness is as close to a thing of a concept of divinity as I've ever experienced. But I really don't think it's some sort of like we are creations of one being, right, or something like that. But it is an idea that can be motivational, right, for people to that they have a father figure that's looking at what they're doing and so on. But I think the father figure that's looking at what we're doing are basically the laws of the universe, right? No action goes unpunished, right? So good or bad. So our actions seem to be always going noticed by the universe, right? So, but I don't think it's a person that's like policing us. It's more like if I try to touch a hot coal, I'm going to get burnt. And nobody's trying to punish me, and it's not the coal's fault. It's just me learning that I shouldn't do that, right? That's not good. If I try to fly out of your balcony, it's not going to go well for me, right? And I don't need to learn that lesson. I've seen other people try, it didn't go well, right? So I can also learn about the laws of physics just by doing little experiments or watching someone else. The same thing happens with the laws of ethics of the universe, right? You can just observe and learn from others, learn from your experience. The problem with some of the laws of the consciousness is that they're not immediate, right? People get away with the worst things for some time, but maybe we don't see the result of that until like several lives later. So that's the problem, I think, is that it's difficult to get immediate feedback sometimes, except those instant karma, situations people talk about. It's hard to get a grasp of what are the laws of the universe. They're not written down anywhere. They're hard to grasp in their completeness until you become more and more evolved. So I think what I've learned also is that these experiences reveal to me more and more about the laws of the universe. And developing is just part of that is trying to understand those. And while we don't know everything, we can seek to be coherent with what we already know. So that's something that I learn about through IEC and as well as through my own experiences. This idea of a